It is Mayday on Astarte farm, and the wonderful varieties of flowering shrubs and trees in our buffer zones and hedgerows are really starting to strut their stuff. The soils on the farm have warmed deeply enough to allow the dandelions to flower. That reliable indicator of soil warmth was once the signal to plant your early potatoes. But on our no-till farm, we are happy to see the garlic tops showing strong growth, and we trust that the farmers who can tolerate deep soil disturbances will grow our spuds for us. I hope to return to the subject of no-till potatoes in a future video. Some of the thick mulches that have protected our soils over the winter are now raked back to further warm the surface of the soil. Transplanting through those thick mulches can be tricky and time-consuming. We have had some tractor problems this spring that kept our trusty little Kubota out of action, so all of this mulch management has been done by hand. Once the tractor is fully operational, our flail mower may be able to shred some of these mulches, and that will help preserve a little more of the beneficial soil life. Jim's grapes have been pruned and tied to their trellis wires, and it won't be long before their leaves and fruit buds appear. Our neighbor's field has been plowed with a two-bottom plow. In the old days, that style of plow was called a landslide plow, and that gives you a hint of its destructive ability. Next will come a thorough disc harrowing, which certainly describes that implement's effects on all soil life. I can hardly stand to mention the rototilling, or as I say, roto-killing, that comes next. In all fairness, an older couple farm that field largely by themselves, using conventional farming systems once promulgated by the UMass Extension Service. They can bring in substantial crops for local consumption, and they are good neighbors. Down at the western edge of our field, heavy silage tarps have been spread in order to kill the winter rye which was planted last fall. Finding a calm enough morning to handle these big tarps during the windy spring of 2021 has been a challenge. But in addition to all our sandbags, metal fence poles, and concrete blocks, a bit of heavy rain has helped to keep them pinned down. On my way back up to the high tunnels, I passed some mushrooms erupting from our static, as opposed to frequently turned, compost pile. For each of these mushrooms, there are an estimated 10,000 times their weight in mycelia, which are almost like mushroom roots. The spores of these mushrooms may go airborne in this windy season, or those that land back on the pile will get spread directly onto our production beds. Fungal activity is one of the keys to no-till growing, and it contributes to the distinct flavor profiles in the produce we grow. Here is the crew in High Tunnel 3 harvesting overwintered spinach for the first ever Astarte Farm CSA distribution. There will be plenty left over for River Valley Co-op, who have been our primary outlet for the last 6 years. These shots were taken Friday morning after a long week of work, and they only show a small part of the process required to prepare the spinach for sale. Multiple washings, drying, constant sorting, and finally bagging all take an enormous amount of time, but the super high quality of the finished product makes it all worthwhile. In High Tunnel 2, we have another succession of lettuce growing that should ensure a continuous supply of prime salad ingredients for our CSA members. Over in High Tunnel 1, you can see the okra stalks from last summer's cover crop mulching the pathway next to the garlic. You can also see stone crop, or sedum, that we are experimenting with as a perennial cover crop. The stone crop is easy to divide and transplant into bare spots on bed tops. Because it is so shallow-rooted, it seldom interferes with the food crops, and because its leaves shade the bed surface, it keeps the root zone cooler in what can be a surprisingly harsh high tunnel environment. From high tunnel mulch to straw mulch out in the field on one of last year's hemp beds, everything we do on the farm aims to promote our soil's health. A healthy soil is more resilient to the increasing onslaughts of climate chaos. By nurturing our soils, not just feeding them, but by allowing the gracious growth of the countless unseen organisms that inhabit them, we are taking good care of half the plant. What occurs above ground can sometimes seem beyond our control, but the methods we use each day sequester substantial carbon in our soils. Our crops are literally pulling carbon out of the atmosphere where it is harmful and putting it to good use growing food. Regenerative farming practices have the true potential to alleviate the carbon load in our atmosphere. Let off the high horse for a quick shot of the spinach that was overwintered in the field. Any of you who watched these videos during last winter may have gotten tired of hearing that it was going to be okay, it was going to survive, just wait and see. Well, here it is, growing stronger every day. And here's a quick peek at what it looked like in early January of this year, and it looked far worse in February. Back to springtime 2021, we can see the shallots planted back in early April poking up through their thick compost mulch. The crew is out planting a wide variety of crops on every possible day to ensure a long harvest season. The propagation house is looking delightfully full of tender crops as we patiently wait for the season to settle down into steady summer heat. We are very grateful to our new CSA members who have placed their trust in us to grow for them, and we welcome them to see firsthand the weekly changes on our farm. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to hit subscribe and like. Catch you next time.